So I guess at this point, if nobody has joined, then we can start. Welcome to the Start 101 online class. As you all know, this is a 7 weeks class. So it is going to be a little bit faster than the regular semester classes. What I want us to do today is to quickly go over the syllabus and at the same time over how to use Canvas for this online class. And we are also going to go over chapter 1. So this is the view, the student view on Canvas. If you want to know what is on the class, you go to module. So you may decide to go over all of these steps, which I'm going to discuss with you now, how the class work and what you need, the syllabus. Let me open the syllabus to start with. So I will choose this one. So we are going to be using the textbook Elementary Statistics, a step-by-step approach, a brief version, the 8th edition. So the class will be online on Canvas. And you are going to be doing your homework, which I will assign, already is assigned on Canvas. So you go on Canvas to find your homework, use your textbook to do the homework, and I'm going to show you how to submit your homework on Canvas. So if you can, it will be advised to get TI 83, 84 calculator. If you know how to use it, it will make so much work easier for you in this class. So you are expected to read your textbook, to go through the PowerPoint. There's an audio PowerPoint presentation. We are going to see how to have access to that audio on Canvas. Go over the audio PowerPoint presentation, do your homework, and then take your quizzes. And there will be some discussion topics that you will have to do. There are generally topics that I have created to encourage you to be engaged and participate in the class by interacting with each other. So most of the time, like you have the first one is the introduction. Make sure you do it today or tomorrow latest and respond to other students that have posted. Show some enthusiasm and an interest in the class. Don't just write to do your assignment, write with so much more motivation. So each of those discussion is 2 points. Generally, you lose point because you have not made a substantial contribution. Most of the time, this substantial contribution comes not only on your post, but on your reaction to others' post. Some students generally just say, I agree with what you say. What did that person say? It's better to say what that person say. You say that it is good to take online class because it gives you free time, and I agree with that. Don't just say, I agree with what you say about online class. So you need to say something that shows the interest you have about the post that you are responding to. So in each of the posts, you will have to respond to two for your discussion, for you to get the 2 points. Make sure you make a post on time. You respond to at least 2 of the other students' posts before the due date. So as I say, homework are all on Canvas. You do the homework after going through the PowerPoint and submit the homework. I give you the full mark, which is 1 point for each of the homework that you do for attempting to do it. But it doesn't just mean that you need to just submit anything to me to get the 1 point. I need to see evidence that you did it. Evidence, for example, could be a statement about the question. If the question is, find the average of the following numbers, you find that average and it is 7. Don't just write 7. Maybe question number 1, 7. Question number 2, apple. Question number 3, plus. Those type of answers does not show evidence that you did the homework. So if there is a question like, what is the average of the following numbers? Just say, at least say, the average is 7. When you make a statement like that, I know that you know what you are talking about. If you say the color was blue, or the car is green, or there are not many students that came, make a statement that if somebody sees your answer, the person will know somebody wrote something meaning something, not just numbers or one word. So when you do that, you get the full 1 point on your homework. What I grade is quiz. Is at the quiz that I check if you have understood what you were doing at your homework. So for each chapter, you have a quiz. And each quiz, you have 3 attempts. So after going over the PowerPoint and completing your homework, and you feel comfortable that you have understood what the chapter is about, you make your first attempt on the quiz. Today, you should be able to make your first attempt on quiz 1, or latest by noon tomorrow. It is due on Wednesday, but I'm just advising you to start with a first attempt that give you a flavor of what the quiz is about. You might be able to determine that there are some aspects of the chapter that you have not understood. You go over the PowerPoint again, or over in your textbook, you go over your homework. If there are aspects that you don't understand, you send me an email. There is no specific time for office hour, but when you send me an email, I generally set Thursday as sometimes Monday or Thursday, we can meet. But if you have a question when you are doing your quiz and it is due tomorrow, I will ask you if you can have 5 or 10 minutes so that we meet on Zoom. That is why you see that there is a Zoom meeting every day. When I say we can meet on Zoom, you just go on Canvas at the time that we agree to meet for 5 or 10 minutes, and then you click there. I can be somewhere with my phone, and I can explain to you much easier than by email. So make good use of that. Whenever you are stuck, whenever you cannot answer a question or you don't understand why your answer is wrong, send me an email. If I see that it is just a little thing I can explain by email, I will send you a reply. If you still don't understand and both of us agree that let's just meet on Zoom, we can, okay, tomorrow at 12, tomorrow at 6, we can meet, tomorrow at 8, we can meet, and we meet to discuss about what you don't understand. So there will be exams as well. And as you can see, I don't know if you are seeing the syllabus. You were not seeing the syllabus. So grade distribution. There are 4 discussions, each for 2 points, making 8 points. There will be homework. There are 9 of them, each for each chapter. Quizzes, there are also 9 of them, but each is for 2 points. So homework is not great for correctness. It's only great for doing it. And I'll only look for evidence that you actually did it. At quiz, you will be assessed to know if you understand it, but you will have 3 attempts for each of the quizzes. And you will have 3 exams. I think 3 midterm exams. I think there are 3 of them. So there will be 3 midterm exams counting for 40 points. I think the first one is 15 points. The second one is 10 points. The third one is 15 points. And then the final exam is 15 points as well. So this is about assessment. There will be 2 projects. These projects are simple work that you can put yourself in 2 or 3, in a group of 2 or 3 to do it. The first one will be about collecting data, organizing it, and summarizing it, that is computing the mean, the variance and standard deviation, the mode, and make a representation using a graph like a histogram or a circle graph. You are going to learn those ones in chapter 2 and 3. So at the end of chapter 3, you are going to do a project. So you should begin to think. If you know anybody in the class you want to work with, let me know. Otherwise, I am going to put you randomly in a group by Sunday. So on Sunday, if by Saturday midnight you have not told me, or before the time I am putting people in a group, you have not told me somebody you may want to work with, I will randomly put you in a group. So each project will count for 5 points and the 2 projects make 10 points. That is how your 100 points for the class is going to be. So to be successful in this class, just make sure you go over the PowerPoint that we have. If you have questions, don't hesitate to contact me. On Thursday, I will have a meeting with you on Thursday, probably at 5 p.m. We not 4. If 4 is okay for you, we can still have it at 4. Is 4 okay for everybody? You can just say yes or no on the chat. So we will choose between 4 and 5, 3, 4, and 5. Just tell me which of those 3 times is best for you, and we can meet on Thursday to go over chapter 2. Today we are going to go over chapter 1. These meetings are not going to be mandatory. It is just to help you. After the first 2 meetings, if I feel like you are okay, you can go on your own. We are not going to be having meetings unless you request one. If you request one, we can meet. We can even meet just to go over all the homework. If you have trouble doing your homework and you want me to help you, just let me know. I will find a time and then we will meet and do the homework. If 2 or 3 people want to meet, we can agree on this the same time and we go over all our homework together. So that is how the class will be, and it will make things much easier for you. So just let me know and I will find a time and we will meet and go over the homework problems. And if you also have trouble with your quizzes, you have questions about it, I may not give you the answer, but I can help you to understand what you are doing wrong. So that is it with the syllabus. Do you have any question so far? So if
None over
yeah,
here.
okay. You can also type your question and I will see if you don't want to speak and I will answer. So I want to go back to Canvas. I think it's here. It's 1 minute. Yeah. So the module, that's where you see what you have to do for the week. The first assignment today is to introduce yourself. It is due on Wednesday. Chapter 1 quiz and homework are also due. I want us to go over how to submit your homework. So here you have homework. You click on this, homework chapter 1. So you have the questions here that are in your textbook. Once you have completed, sometimes like on this chapter 2, some of these questions, the answer is just a statement. It's not really like you have a lot to do. So when you see too many of them, it doesn't mean that it's a lot of work. Don't get discouraged. Just open and you will see. It might ask you just a simple question that you want. I mean, those questions are many. It means they are not difficult. You can, once you finish, you click submit. If you have typed it on a Word document and save it on your computer, you can upload it here. You choose a file and upload it. If you want to type it on Canvas directly, which might be a little, it's better to always have a saved document. But if you want to type it directly, you go on text entry here. If you have saved it on Google Drive, you can come here and upload it to for your assignment. But I usually encourage file upload or text entry. They are generally the most easy one. Leave here. Now go back to module. Quizzes, you can take quiz by just clicking on the quiz, quiz 1, and then it will say take the quiz. You can try to take the quiz. You click here and you have the first question. Which of the following correctly describe the relationship between a sample and a population? The second question, although it is much easier to perform long statistical computation on a calculator or computer, a student still need to learn how these computations are done in order to understand the data, true or false. You answer the question, you can say here, which of the following is correctly describe the relationship between a sample and a population? A population and a sample are not related. A sample is a group of subjects. You will choose the right answer. You know how to take quizzes. So there are about 10 questions, I think, for each quiz. It takes you generally about 10 minutes. But if you can take, I think, up to 30 minutes to do each of the quizzes. So after your first attempt, if you are not happy with your score, you can take a second one. If you take a second one and you do worse than the first one will be recorded. So the best score is recorded. So feel free to take your attempt, but don't take the last attempt until you are sure that you are already happy with the score that you have had on the first and the second. Don't just gamble with it, because you might still not do well on the third attempt. If you feel like you are not doing well, go back to your homework, go back to the PowerPoint and learn more about the chapter. So each chapter, there is a quiz for each chapter. Let's quickly go over the first chapter. I will download it here. I like having it as a separate PowerPoint. Just 1 minute. I want to upload the PowerPoint for chapter 1. I want us, because you are already here, it will take us about 30 minutes to go over the chapter 1 PowerPoint. And that will be it for today. So in chapter 1, we are going to learn about the nature of probability and statistics. So what is statistic is the first question, and you may have it in one of your quizzes. Statistics consists of collecting, organizing, summarizing, analyzing data in order to draw conclusions or to make predictions. So it is used in a variety of aspects of life in business, education, government, and social sciences. There are two types of statistics. One is descriptive statistics, and the other one is inferential statistics. In descriptive statistics, you collect, organize, summarize data, and present it using graph. So in descriptive, you don't make any inference. That is, you don't generalize it. You just study the objects that you have. Now, when you want to make inference, then it is inferential statistics. So in inferential statistics, we generalize information from the sample to the population. So we have estimation that we will learn in chapter 7, in hypothesis testing that we will learn in chapter 8. We also learn about determining relationship between variables in chapter 10. So in statistics generally, we want to collect information from individuals. The collection of all the individuals that we are studying is called a population. Most of the time, it is very difficult to account for all the members of the population. So we make use of a portion of the population, which is called a sample. So those information we get from each individual of a sample, we call it data. For example, a researcher may want to study apple produced in the state of Pennsylvania. So it is literally impossible to obtain all the apple produced in Pennsylvania. The researcher might decide to select 1,000 apples. How will he select it? What will he like to study on those apples? So the 1,000 apple represent the sample. Remember, the first question on that quiz was, what is the relation between population and sample? A sample is a portion of a population. So the information that we are collecting could be numbers that we call quantitative data. When these numbers can be added or subtracted, but sometimes numbers are just names, like your ID card is a name. It's not really a value. You can't say that if I subtract 10 to my ID card, I will get somebody else's ID card number. So there are two types of variable, quantitative and qualitative variables. Qualitative variables are like color. Quantitative variables is like your age is a quantity, 20 years old is a quality. So among quantitative variables, there are those that are discrete and those that are continuous. Discrete variables are those that are kind of separated. We have, for example, age is discrete, your income is discrete. But if you want to measure like temperature, it is continuous. Length, weight, they are continuous random variables. So discrete are generally identified as variables that are whole numbers or fractions. So if the data as you are collecting can be expressed as a fraction or a whole number, that variable will be considered discrete. But if you can obtain values that are neither fractions or whole numbers, for example, if you are measuring length, you can have a length that is pi. You know that pi times the diameter is the circumference of a circle. So if you know the diameter and the circumference, you can get pi, but it is not a fraction. So it's, or when you take like square root of 3, it's not a fraction. Square root of 2 is not a fraction. So data that can be expressed by any type of number, not only whole number and fractions, are called continuous data. So I've given you some of these examples. So you can come back to this PowerPoint to see the examples that are here. So zip code, for example, is a qualitative variable because it is not a number that you can say my zip code is bigger than your zip code. And so what? It doesn't make any value. I mean, you cannot add 2 zip code to get another zip code. So this is an example of data. We have location, city, zip code. These are nominal. You have the size of apples, for example. If we are studying apple, we have large, medium, small. We can present these results on this table that tell us what each of the variable is. Color is qualitative, weight is quantitative and is continuous, size is qualitative, like small, large, big. I should specify this large. This size could be like small, medium, and so on. And then age of the tree is quantitative and is discrete because we can say the tree is 20 years old, 10 years old. So when we have variables, we can also classify them in terms of their level of measurement. There are 4 levels of measurement. The lowest level, which is nominal, is when a variable cannot be ranked, like ID number, like names, color. You cannot say one is bigger than the other. At that level, we say it is nominal. If values can be ordered, ranked, but are not numbers that you can add or subtract, we call it ordinal level, like size in terms of small, large, medium, or weather in terms of cold, warm, hot, extremely hot. Those are ordinal level. Sometimes variable are numbers. When variables are numbers that you can add and subtract, we get into the second level, the third level, which is interval. But it is interval only if it does not have a meaningful zero. That is, zero does not mean nothing. For example, when we say it is 4 o'clock, that means 4 hours have passed. From when? 4 hours has passed from noon. Does that mean that at noon no time has passed before? No, it is just a reference. The zero at noon does not mean nothing. At a ratio level, the data has a true value. Zero means nothing. If we started this class at 4 o'clock exactly, how long have we been in this class? Time duration, 30 minutes. It is ratio, because if we have not started, it is zero. The time of departure of your flight is interval, but the duration of your flight is ratio, because if the flight has not taken off, it is zero. So then the zero means nothing. So I have put all this information on the apples collected from Pennsylvania on this table. That will give us color as qualitative in nominal, weight as in ounces as quantitative and ratio, because the weight could be zero, it means zero. It means nothing. Size as small, medium, and large, I put it here as qualitative is ordinal. Age of the tree as quantitative is ratio. Location is qualitative and nominal, zip code, for example. Time of harvest, in when do they usually harvest it, is quantitative and it is interval. So on your quiz, you will see questions like, what is the level of measurement of the following variables? You should be able to determine if it is nominal, ordinal, interval, or ratio. So as I said before, a population is really when the population is large, sometimes we cannot account for every individual of that population. In that case, we need a sample that is representative of the population. Because if I want to study apple produce in Pennsylvania and I get into a store and buy 1,000 apples, it might not be representative of the apple produced in Pennsylvania because they could have come from the same farmer. So we need sample that is representative of the population. That is called a random sample. The method of obtaining random sample is called sampling techniques. So we have random sampling techniques in which we can just mix numbers and randomly choose some of them, the numbers that we want. When we have a large population, we sometimes use a random number generator. Excel has a random number generator. The TI-8384 has a random number generator. I will use Excel to give you an example of the use of a random number generator. Okay, suppose I want to choose, I have ranked all the apples, or let's say I have a population of 1,000 individuals or 100 individuals, and I want to choose 10 of them. I have 100 individuals, let's say my population has 100 individuals, and I have numbered them 1 to 100. I can use Excel to choose one number out of those 100. I will choose random, I will write random, and it will offer round and random between. With this, I go 1 to 100. So this is going to give me one number between 1 and 100, which is 81. That means the individual with number 81 will be selected. So the process here is just about getting an individual randomly. That is what is about the first sampling techniques, the random sampling. If I want 10 of them, I can just put my cursor here. When I'm here, you see, it will become a plus when I am here. And I can choose as many as I want randomly. So the next sampling technique is systematic sampling. In systematic sampling, you can choose a number like 5 and say you will be selecting the fit individual. You can go, for example, at the library and you decide to take the fit individual that get into the library and give him your questionnaire until you get 10 people, and that will be your random sample. In stratified sampling, the researcher divides the population into layers or small groups that are called strata, and within each small group, a portion of the sample is selected. For example, I might want to survey students on campus to determine if they prefer online class or face-to-face. I can divide the student population into freshman, sophomore, junior, and senior. If I want 50 students, I can decide to take 15 freshmen, 15 sophomore, 10 junior, and 10 senior. Depending on the objective I have divided the student population into the strata, which are the classes in the university. In cluster sampling, you divide the population now into cluster and randomly choose one or more clusters and use every member of the cluster. That is what it means by use the intact group, every member. For example, we might want to determine the prevalence of COVID-19 in Pennsylvania, and we want to use a method to combat it and decide that we are going to choose 3 cities and implement the rule in the 3 cities maybe for 2 weeks and see the result in order to determine if that rule should be generalized to the whole population. I will randomly choose 3 cities and every individual in those 3 cities will follow the rule. So that is cluster sampling. In convenient sampling, you might just go to the mall and meet 10 individuals and survey them, or to Walmart, or I can just say, okay, I'm using this class to determine their blood type, knowing that blood type did not determine whether you will be part of this class or not. So that is a convenient sampling. So I've explained all of this, so I'm going to skip these ones. You can come back to it. This is an audio PowerPoint in which I am saying the same thing I am telling you now. I am skipping because of time. So, observational and experimental studies. In an observational study, the researcher merely observes and tries to draw conclusions based on the observations. In an experimental study, the researcher manipulates with an independent variable and tries to determine the response, which is the dependent variable. For example, you can decide uh, to wake up every morning at 6 a.m. and to see how your day is going to be. This is an experiment. A teacher can decide that I'm going to be using objective quizzes instead of essays to see if my student will perform better. So you are causing the result you are getting. That is what is called experiment. In a confounding variable, a confounding variable influences the dependent variable but cannot be separated from the independent variable. So sometimes an issue might be affecting, for example, the weather might affect the student performance in addition to how the students study for the test. And sometimes we might not consider that. So these are confounding variables. uses and misuses and statistics. You can go over this. It tells you sometimes the type of situation in which statistic is wrongly used. And there are many issues. When you hear people say, I trust science, I don't want to get into politics, but science can be misused. We want to know that science can be misused. So there are so many ways to misuse data. So sometimes we can use misleading graph, for example. In a misleading graph, you can make the portions of the X and Y to not be reflective of the reality, but of what you want the people to see. A classic example is here. In 1948, the Gallup poll incorrectly predicted, polls are always wrong. It depends on how they sample. There are many factors that makes polls sometimes to go wrong or to go right. So the Gallup poll incorrectly predicted that the Dewey would win the presidential election over Harry Truman. Their prediction was based on a telephone poll. In 1948, Republicans were more likely to own a telephone than Democrats. So the results of the poll were biased due to faulty sampling. You can understand what that means. If I want to make a survey today to discuss about social security and I'm using a smartphone, most of the people that are directly concerned with, say, social security might not be involved in that because they are too old to be using smartphone. So there are so many things that sometimes can affect the outcome of our statistical result. So sometimes we will use Excel in some cases. We can use TI-83, 84 to make some of the computation much easier. As we saw on that question, using Excel or using the calculator does not stop you from learning why and how to use statistics. So this is the end of chapter 1. You can go over the homework tonight if you like, or tomorrow if you are not yet ready. But try your best, do your homework, submit it, make sure you post your discussion before Wednesday. All assignment for the first chapter are due on Wednesday at midnight. Do not always wait for the last minute. If you have any question, let me know.
Not that I can think of right now, but I'm sure once this is all over and it's done with,
Yeah,
I'll probably think of my question then.
yeah, I know. In that case, just send me an email. Okay?
All right. All right.
Yeah. Okay, guys. Have a good evening. So we are meeting. Have we decided about meeting on? Maybe you are just two of you. It will be maybe still 4 o'clock. Maybe I will still hold on 4 or 5. I'm feeling like many people did not attend because of the time. That's why I'm thinking about changing. But I will send you an email to confirm. At this
Okay.
point, it is 6 on Canvas. I'm going to change it to 5 or 4, maybe 4. Okay. Have a good evening.
All right. Sounds good to me.
Thank you.
All right, have a good day. Bye bye.
Bye.